The challenge inherent with talking about colors is that there's so many colors that we can see with our eyes and pick with our digital color pickers. So at the very least, it's impractical, if not impossible, to talk about color by referring to colors individually. Here's an example of what I mean using just two colors. What would you call this color? I would call it red. But what about this color? That's red too, right? And how about these? Now you might say, oh, then let's just add saturation and value into the discussion. And while that is often useful, we still can't do that here because these colors all have the same saturation and value. So you see the problem. And with that comes a new, very important term, color temperature. Chances are you're already familiar with the two most important aspects of color temperature, warm and cool. These two families, warm and cool, sit on opposite sides of the color wheel. And because we're dealing with a color wheel, when you gradually shift your hue around the wheel, you are shifting color temperature. This simple method of understanding or reframing color is kind of profound because we've now shifted the conversation from talking about the identity of just one color to talking about the relationships of multiple colors as a whole. You guys are the warmest, you guys are slightly cooler than that, you guys are cooler still, and you guys are the coldest. The colors are moving, or rather we are moving through the colors as they go around the wheel. And that is the next important concept in our understanding of color here, movement. Think of them like two train stops. Your warm stop is here, your cool stop is here. Most of the time, you're not actually at your destination stops. Most of the time, you're going to be somewhere in transit between the two. Using color is like that in the sense that usually you're not painting with your warmest or your coolest color. You're painting with some intermediary color. So here is where we make our first little chart of how to travel between warm and cool. We're going to do this first one simply with hue. So we've got our warm side here, and we've got our cool side here. And the goal is to use only hue to shift between these. So I will sample my warm color, and I will simply shift the hue down a little bit and paint a new swatch. I will shift the hue down a little bit more and paint a new swatch. I'm trying to shift the hue pretty much evenly every time, and I'm just hoping that by the time I'm in the middle of my chart, I'm in the middle of these two colors. So something like this, and then what I can do is I'll sample my blue, and I will go up this way, painting my hues until I reach the middle red there. And here we go, ultimately meeting our red color. And there, just like that, we've created ourselves a little chart that goes from warm to cool using just hues. I could have started here as my warm and ended up here as my cool. In fact, let's go ahead and paint that chart. Now I'm gonna go through the same exercise now where we slowly change the hue picker, the color wheel, on our way from one train stop to the next, painting these swatches, one blending right into the next one, which is what I recommend because these color temperatures change fluidly. You shouldn't leave gaps between them. They should appear to be seamless as you paint. Anytime the hue moves this way, we are getting cooler. And anytime the hue moves that way, we are getting warmer. This chart is a good example of how a single color can move from warm to cool. In this case, we have a spectrum of greens. A warm green will err on the yellow side. And doing these simple color charts will give you a quick visual as to what different colors look like in their warm versus cool state. And this is great. We're in the ballpark of talking like a painter now. However, if all we had to work with were hues, we'd be pretty much limited to candy-colored paintings or otherwise paintings where every hue had the same saturation. And that would hit its limit very quickly. So we still need more flexibility with how we can move from warm to cool and back. For this, we bring in our friend, saturation. Now with this chart here, I actually do know what goes exactly in the middle. It's this perfect gray. So I'll choose my gray and I'll put it right where I think is the middle of this chart. And now I can reselect my warm color and progress my way toward perfectly desaturated gray in the middle. And do the same thing here with the blue. So here we have yet another chart, moving from warm to cool using saturation. Or the way I like to think of it, moving from warm to cool using grays. Now, just like before, we could take any 2 points of this chart, say from here to here, and draw ourselves a new chart where those are our final train destinations. It's the movement from warm to cool that's important, not how much space you're covering. So long as you've got those 2 train stops, you're well on your way to good color. That means that while this color was the coldest one on this chart, it is somewhere in the middle on this chart. So while this color is indeed colder than, say, that color, it is warmer than that color. Again, notice the adjectives here, warmer, cooler. There's always that qualifier. The color never should exist on its own. It is always going to be up against other colors, so you're always thinking, is it warmer or is it cooler? And doing these charts is an easy way to give you visual examples of how this all works. If you're brand new to digital painting, this could be a great way to warm up in the morning. Moving through grays, or different levels of saturation like this, activates one of my favorite properties of color, and that's the kind of chameleon effect color can have. Take a look at this example. The swatch of gray in the middle is the same on both sides, but visually, it looks warmer on the left and cooler on the right. That's the chameleon effect I'm referring to, the color appearing visually different depending on its context. Grays, or hues with low saturation, are very common in nature, way more common than highly saturated colors. In nature, it's very common to move from warm to cool through neutrals like this. So our brains recognize gray as kind of a transitory color. You know, something that is on the path of moving between warm and cool. So if you put gray up against a very saturated yellow, it'll look like it's getting cooler because it is moving from one side of the color wheel to the other. The upshot is, the way colors appear is far less determined by the actual color that it is, rather where it lies on the path between warm and cool. And that is cool. And that's where I'll do one more chart here. Like the last chart, I will reduce saturation, but like the first chart, I'll also change the hue. And this is how we can combine our first chart and our second chart and arrive at what I think is a very sophisticated way of moving between warms and cools, something that combines both hue and saturation. And in fact, in the next section, I'll show you direct applications of this particular chart. Let me just do one more of these charts. I don't want to leave out greens. This time I've gone the other way around the color wheel. These charts are not necessarily color palettes. These charts are simply ways of moving between warm and cool. Here's a beautiful painting by one of my all-time favorite painters, John Singer Sargent. What I want to show you here is how these color charts are used to create expressive color in this painting. As far as individual hues go, there's not a lot happening here. I see some reds, some yellows, and I happen to know that Sargent had blue on his palette to mix the cool side. And areas like this and this are examples of where he's using a lot of red in the mix. You can see yellows on his palette in areas like here. I'm just going to do a quick value correction. I'm going to lighten up this red because it's easier to look at colors that have the same value. Now, on the opposite side of our color temperature trip, it looks like this little spot here is some of the purest blue in the painting. Interestingly enough, when I look at this painting, nothing really strikes me as being gray, and yet grays are abundant. This little archway, this section of the painting right here, is great because it alone contains a whole variety of warm to cool. I feel like this is the warm side and this is the cool side. And this whole arch acts as its own little color chart, moving from warm to cool in a very linear way. Watch the color temperature progression here. So here's the start. As I go, we are progressively shifting cooler and cooler and cooler. And there we go. Now that's not the whole story. There is also different levels of saturation. For example, right at the end of the arch here, when we get into the actual purples and blues, we are getting slightly more saturated as we do that, and I can progressively build out my color temperature chart as I go. Sampling colors, kind of correcting for value, and putting these colors where I think they go on the chart. But what's always interesting to me is, even though the colors look quite gray on my temperature chart here at the bottom, if you look at the actual painting, they look colorful. And that's because the colors are moving in a constant state of movement from warm to cool. If I picked one of these colors, say this one here from my chart, and started painting the arch with this color, now it's starting to look just gray. Because there's no movement, I've gotten rid of all that movement. Now, not every part of the painting has to fill out a complete color chart. For instance, I sampled this blue from this point right here. But that saturated blue doesn't exist in the arch. The coldest I can get in that arch is probably somewhere around there, which is about here on our color chart. Sargent is using other areas of the painting to fill this gap. And that's an area of color that can be very creative. When you're showing the viewer a path between warm and cool, that path can happen anywhere in the painting. It doesn't have to happen in every part of the painting. I do recommend not leaving gaps in your charts. It just helps visually see the transition of color when you don't have gaps in between your swatches. So in little areas like this, I will just fill this in. Let's see if I can find the warmest orangey yellow. There's one right there to replace my warmest color. Again, I'll correct for value a little bit. And it looks like I need one color in the middle. Maybe it's that one there. And then I'll jump over to this side and fill in this gap here to complete the color chart. So with Sargent's limited palette of watercolors, again, he was using a red, a yellow, and a blue, he is able to create a full range of color temperature, moving from warm to cool and back, using the same color charts we just outlined. Specifically using our latest color chart, the one that combined both hue and saturation. If you've been taking the Digital Painting Fundamentals course, you'll have a head start on these concepts and putting them into your paintings. In Premium, we go way deeper on color theory and show you different palettes you can use in your paintings. To see those, head over to proko.com/digitalpainting.